Welcome back to RFL. I'm Andrew Whitman. The FBI is investigating Mayor Bill de Blasio's pledge to ban carriage horses and the politics surrounding it. De Blasio made the promise to voters ahead of last year's mayoral election. Now the feds want to know if the mayor had anything to do with a $175,000 contribution made to an animal rights group, NY Class, by de Blasio's cousin, who's a leader of a union. NY Class launched a full-blown attack campaign against de Blasio's main challenger, Christine Quinn. The FBI is also investigating whether the organization is guilty of extortion. And Dominic, you asked this question flat out during the campaign last year.
Well, Andrew, as you just pointed out, we have to keep in mind this was exactly 1 year ago. City Council Speaker Christine Quinn was the clear front runner in the race for mayor. Bill de Blasio, at best, was a distant third. Quinn was projected, based on polling, to cruise to the Democratic nomination for mayor. Then the hard-hitting TV ads went up against Quinn on the air about allegedly engaging in, quote, backroom deals. And it was the beginning of the end for Quinn. Now, she has directly accused de Blasio of being behind all of this. De Blasio's denial in our own interview has been one of the only times I have ever seen him raise his voice.
Virtually all of Christine Quinn's decisions were made in rooms just like this, with her friends in the 1%.
You say you knew nothing about this ad, but Christine Quinn says you are directly behind it.
I gotta tell you, literally, I resent, I don't use those words lightly, I resent her making an aspersion there's absolutely no evidence for. The folks involved, a number of them were her supporters. This is the part she leaves out of the discussion. They were people who gave her large sums of money and then became profoundly disillusioned with the way she abandoned progressive values. The folks who are behind it, as have been reported, some are supporters of John Liu. I believe some are supporters of Bill Thompson. I think some are supporters of me. They have a right under the law to do this. I, as much as anyone, would like to see continued campaign finance reform, but right now these folks have a legal right to do this, and they are expressing their anger on paid sick days, on living wage, on term limits, all the things where she let down progressive values. And instead of claiming I had something to do with it when I did not, she should answer the substantive issues that have been raised in this advertisement.
Is she qualified to be mayor of New York City, in your opinion?
I think her policies are wrong for New York. I think her approach is wrong for New York. I mean, she's obviously been willing to violate the democratic process, first with the change in term limits, which, as you know, I led the opposition to in the city council. I think she made a deal with Bloomberg. One of the great backroom deals in the history of a city that's had a lot of backroom deals, took away the people's democratic rights. She did it again on paid sick days, holding up a vote for 3 years on something that would have affected 1 million people. That's not leadership to me. I think she's in the wrong place on the issues, but I also think she does things in a way that really violates the principles of our democratic process.
But, Mr. Public Advocate, backroom deals, those are very strong words.
Oh, I don't think they're particularly strong words. I think it defines exactly what happened. In the end, she made a deal with Mayor Bloomberg. And, the mayor wanted a third term. And she was willing to ignore the will of the people as expressed in 2 different referendums. And she said the other day in Brooklyn, by the way, there was a forum maybe a week or so ago in Brooklyn. And the question, it's interesting, sometimes the people think of ideas or questions that I wouldn't have, or maybe you wouldn't have, and a person in the audience said, well, all of you, if there was another referendum on whatever topic, would you, by definition, respect the outcome of the referendum? If the people have spoken, would you abide by it? All the Democrats said, yes, we would, except for Christine Quinn. She once again said, if I disagree with it, I go my own way. And she claimed that was leadership. I claim that is unwillingness to listen to the people and respect the will of the people.
Andrew, at that time, a year ago, we did not know that de Blasio's cousin had made a $175,000 payment to a consultant to back these ads. So now the FBI is investigating all of this. If this new administration didn't have enough problems, now you have apparently an FBI investigation. Again, de Blasio is denying, as you saw there in the clip, that he had anything to do with this. But we didn't know a year ago that that interview would be so important to today.
A couple of questions for clarification, Dominic. That ad campaign, it was all focused on Christine Quinn. That was really the beginning of the end for her as the front runner,
It did her
right?
in completely.
And it was completely laser focused on her.
Right. We showed a little bit of the ad in which she was accused of doing these backroom deals. And at the time she was running a Rose Garden strategy, she was like 20 points ahead in the polls. She was cruising to the Democratic nomination for mayor. And then those ads started. And at that time, Flashpoint, a year ago, at that time, Bill de Blasio was a distant third. Now, this is before he did the commercial with his son with the afro and so on, but he was nowhere near winning this race. When those ads started, everything completely turned around. He went from worst to first, and now he's the mayor of New York City.
And if the reports are true, and that's a big if at this point, that somebody connected to the mayor gave the money or gave part of the money that funded that campaign, that would seem to fuzz the line between, you know, a campaign and a super PAC, which you're not allowed to do.
If they can tie this money to the mayor's cousin, and it's all in forms, and the FBI is looking into this right now, it's not to imply that the mayor himself did something illegal, but the mayor's got a big problem if they can prove that. And the FBI is investigating now.
You know, one of the facts of all this that caught our eye last week is that the investigation includes extortion. They're investigating the possibility of extortion against the Quinn campaign. Basically, her critics saying, support us on this horse carriage ban, or we're going to organize this campaign to defeat you. There is a line that sounds like issue politics in a lot of different ways, though they're investigating for extortion.
I mean, that's fair in a way. I mean, if folks think there shouldn't be carriages, and they want to say, if you support us, we obviously won't oppose you. But if you're going to take a position totally contrary to our interests, we're going to oppose you, and we're going to do everything we can to defeat you. And let me tell you, taking on animal rights groups is really, really dangerous.
Even, Congressman, if the focus of that ad campaign isn't on the issue itself?
See, this is what's slimy. I remember a few years ago, the NRA ran against me, but they never ran against me on rifles. They ran against me on other issues. That's when I think it gets real slimy.
Because the attacks were against Quinn. It was about the third-term deal with Bloomberg, and about seemingly every other decision that she made as city council president.
And let's remember, it was, you know, anyone but Quinn was the title. And I have to say, the interview is amazing because you don't see that type of anger out of de Blasio.
At all.
And when you raised the issue, his
never
response.
seen it before.
And so it's shocking. But I think the important thing to speak to the congressman's point is, you know, and your point is that there is a very fine line between quelling political speech and also, you know, what's allowed and not. And I think what's always shocking to good government groups is in fact what's legal. And we may in fact find that some of these things that look to be extortion are in fact legal, and that raises the question of campaign finance reform, which it's very difficult for us to get. In this case, I mean, we don't know yet, and any collusion between the campaign and the PAC would be, you know, illegal.
And the other difficult thing is, you do something illegal, you win the election, you can't
go back.
You can't go back.
Exactly.
And of course, the investigation now continues. And as we will talk about with Michael Grimm in our next segment, as we talked about with Chris Christie, lingering investigations can take their toll on somebody's political career. Where are the mayor's numbers right now, and how much difficulty could this pose for him?
You know, he's still okay. It's still fairly early, but you know, this is something that has dominated the headlines. He's trying to lay out a housing plan this week, and we're talking about horses and carriages in Central Park. Central Park, there was a Time story this weekend about how it has become a real political nightmare for Bill de Blasio. So if this, you know, turns out to be a tie between his cousin and the campaign and the demise of Christine Quinn, we understand 5 people were questioned by the FBI in the last few days. This could really divert his attention from issues that need addressing, like the fact that you can't find affordable housing in New York City in any borough.
Could you change could to will?
I will let you do that.
No, it will.
It will. I agree.
The mayor should be thanking his lucky stars. He should be thanking Donald Sterling, because this was a page 1 story as of Friday night. And then when the Donald Sterling story broke out of California, it knocked the mayor and the FBI off of page 1. But again, this is a brand new administration, the first Democratic administration in 20 years, and you're now apparently under investigation by the FBI. The last mayor of New York City to face a federal investigation goes back to the late Mayor Ed Koch.
Yeah.
And I don't even recall if he faced a federal
I'm
investigation.
not sure either. I mean, it would make a lot more sense with some of the mayors in the 70s and going back that far. It's a long
And
time.
I wonder how long he's going to get away with his, I know nothing about this, we haven't heard anything about this, nobody's been questioned, because that's all he's been saying since Friday night. But you're right about the Sterling and the Grimm knocking him off the headlines.
There is going to be a lot more to come on this topic. Up next, U.S. Congressman Michael Grimm now indicted on a series of charges, including tax fraud. It is the latest shakeup in New York corruption, allegedly. Our panel weighs in on that and the politics of it when we come back.